Alright everybody, if you're watching this video, you're probably a fan of Garbage Pail Kids, or you're just horribly lost on YouTube. This is a vintage second series rack pack. So we got 24 cards, 8 cards per stack, encased in this cellophane. Now cellophane should be a lot more what's the word here? Archival, I should say. Should be a much better archival environment for these cards the last 25 years, considering that the majority of the moisture and, exposure to temperature change should have been somewhat prevented by not getting all that humidity in there. So hopefully the cards in these rack packs are pretty well preserved and there's not a lot of issues going on. Now, one of the first things, there's no gum in these packs, so you don't have that loss or that variable. Secondly, you don't have the wax involved, so there's no wax staining or sticking or surface damage, so there's that. I think that's the majority of the issues you run across with these vintage cards. A lot of people buy the packs and they think that the packs are going to have like really good PSA gradable 9s and 10s in there all day. But the problem is you get 2 cards per pack lost because of the gum and the wax usually. And what happens is around the edges where the wax packs are sealed, there's usually a bit of a compression that goes on when they wrap the pack. So a lot of times one corner or the other will be crimped or smashed just from the general process of making the packs back in the day. Now if that didn't do it, if the factory didn't do it, over the last 20-something years, anybody who handled the pack may have mishandled it or treated it poorly, and now you got dinged corners, so you're not going to grade out 9 or 10 at all. So that's what I'm thinking with these rack packs, is that there's a possibility in there that we're going to get, hopefully, at least some 8s, 9s, and 10s out of this. Now, the cut of these cards is a big issue, considering that they were basically sticker cards. Not a lot of care, precision went into the cutting of these cards. So the majority of the cards are off center by quite a bit. So there's that variable as well. But I think with the cellophane packs, you're avoiding the majority of the archival problems that you get with a piece of paper that's 20-something years old. Again, no humidity, no wax, no gum, hardly any crimping. You got a lot of buffer area around the cards. Usually the top part right here, it's got this entire portion protecting these 2 corners, and then you got at least a 1/4 inch worth of plastic right here protecting these 2 corners on each side. So that's a pretty significant area to kind of buffer these things against damage. So that's good as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this pack, or this rack pack, and I'm going to try to see how many cards out of this 24 cards rack pack, how many will grade out according to the centering, surfaces, corners, and edges. How many of these cards would be worth sending in for a third-party grade? I'm hoping there's at least a couple decent cards in here. Hopefully some of the more popular cards in better condition. So we'll see how that goes. The only problem with these rack packs you'll see is there'll be a yellow. If you see a yellow tone to the surface here, that means possibly that this rack pack has been exposed to direct sunlight or ambient sunlight for a prolonged period of time. And that's not good. A lot of times a lot of times plastic over the years, like with coins, you'll have a PVC release, like a breakdown. The composition of the plastic over time it'll start to degrade, so you'll get like a leaching of chemicals from the plastic onto the surface of whatever's in there. So they call it in the coin business scuzzing, and it's bad news. It basically stains the surface of a coin, makes it slippery and sticky, and that either needs to be professionally removed and archivally preserved, or it's a rubbish coin. And I think the same goes for these cards. If you have any oils coming off this old plastic, it's going to suck it up like a sponge in the paper here. So if you see a cellophane pack that's yellow, that's not good. And I'll tell you what, this pack, as good a condition as it was in when I got it, had fingerprints all over it. The acidic nature of our oils left impressions in the surface, and when I cleaned them, it also produced a bit of a scuzz, and just where it had broke down over the time. So anyways, that's about the premise of my silly ass video, is I'm gonna see what's doing. Now, the reason why I'm opening this one as a sacrificial lamb, so to speak, is a test subject. Unfortunately, it has these stickers on it. Now, it'd be cool if this was a full-on Toys R Us vintage sticker. It'd be cool, no problem. It was the nature of the beast back in the day to have a sticker on it, so it wouldn't be like a deal breaker. But it's got some loss here, where somebody had tried to remove it, and it didn't quite go right, so it looks a wreck. And then also you got a second-party sticker here with the GP2 on it. So that's kind of a bummer deal. So I think if you were to have this thing graded, if you were so inclined to grade this rack pack, I don't think it would do very well. And considering the amount of scuzzing that came off the surface of this when I cleaned it, and I cleaned it with isopropyl alcohol, whatever the freak they call it, rubbing alcohol, shouldn't get too technical. I cleaned the surface with rubbing alcohol and I got that scuzzing effect, so it kind of got a sticky thing going. I hope it's not on the inside, but it doesn't seem to be sticking to the face card, so that's good. Anyways, again, you get 24 cards per pack here. Almost guaranteed that each one of these cards is in good condition. Don't see any fading in the color, which is another problem with cello packs this old. If they're yellow here, then a lot of times the color is going to be faded here because they were in the direct sunlight or just a prolonged period of ambient sunlight indoors with UV lighting. So that's another reason you'll get damage. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, again, I'm going to see, compared to wax packs, how many of these rack packs are, how many of these cards out of this rack pack come back decent. So anyways, that's about it. I'm going to make a separate video where I make an incision here and here and here and here and attempt to open these things without messing them up. And let's see, these are live mic backs, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully we have a lot of ray guns and hot Scots and all those popular dudes in here, so that it'll justify cracking open a 25-year-old piece of American pop culture. Anyways, to the second video we go.